Bookshare offers two account types for students. So I'm showing a screenshot of our sign-up page where you see, two of our membership options are free. That's for students in the United States and schools in the United States. So the accounts that likely, you being people who from a school district or working in a school, your students would be accessing the school-based account, which we call an organizational account. They can be created at a district level, at a school level. It really depends. Some districts just want one account for all the students in the district who require a Bookshare. Everyone's on that same account and all their teachers are on the account. Other districts prefer to do it school building by school building. There can even be several accounts within a school building. Maybe one teacher just says, I just want my own account for my students on my caseload. Again, Bookshare, it's free. So however you want to set it up and what works best, with your district policies. So that's what's called the organization account. We also offer individual student accounts. This is something a parent would sign their child up for directly for Bookshare. So this might happen in cases where someone goes to a school where they're not using Bookshare. There's no district account, no school account. Maybe the child is homeschooled or at another type of education program where they're not using Bookshare at that school or district level. So those are the two accounts, and it's always free for students. And that's, again, students of any age. When students graduate at a K-12, if they go on to a post-secondary program, Bookshare is still free for them. They go to a vocational, career, technical training program, it will be free as long as they are in that program as well. When someone is no longer a student, there is an option to purchase memberships. It's $79.99 a year. So we have a lot of adult members who join to be able to read the books that they want to read. So again, it's not just for school. The collection has pretty much any book you would find in a bookstore. So again, those accounts.
Laura, oh,
Uh-huh.
sorry to interrupt. We have a couple questions coming in the chat.
Okay.
If you're okay, just when we were
Sure.
talking about eligibility, question came in asking, am I correct that only students with an IEP can access materials sourced from the NIMAC? So a couple questions coming in about the NIMAC. So if you could just provide a little clarity on that.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
there's an additional question, but I'll first let you start with that.
Okay, yes. So the NIMAC, the National Instructional Materials Access Center, which is a federal repository of textbooks, is only available to students with IEPs. So that is something that was established under IDEA, that any district who purchases a textbook or curriculum, that publisher by law is supposed to make a digital copy available to the NIMAC. So with Bookshare, publishers give us books because they want to, they know it's the right thing. They understand that a small subset of students will require the accessible formats and not just, the textbook that everyone else gets or the digital curriculum. But they don't, by law, they don't have to give it to us. So there are some textbooks that are in the NIMAC that we don't have because those publishers have not been willing to give us the digital copy of that. But students with IEPs can access those books that are in the NIMAC, and Bookshare is considered an authorized user of the NIMAC. So their books will show up in our search. If you search for a book, sometimes you might find a textbook that says NIMAC restricted. So that's an indication that that book is only available to a student with an IEP, but it can be accessed through Bookshare just like any other book. And sometimes teachers will request a textbook, and the first thing we'll do is look to see if it's in the NIMAC. And if it is, and if they have students who have IEPs, we can pull it down from the NIMAC. So what we have available from the NIMAC is always changing based on the request we get. So yeah, that's a great question. So when we go onto the platform and I show you what it looks like and how you add a student, I'll show you where you can check a box about them having an IEP that will then make them able to get that NIMAC textbook.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I think that is confusing because when we're saying like for books, it's sort of that difference between Bookshare, what's a NIMAC, and I don't need an IEP for Bookshare. And, I
Right.
just appreciate that. I also just want to tack on to if you need assistance, if you're looking for additional help with that, we do have our Wisconsin AIM Center that can also make requests on behalf from the NIMAC, and that is on our. And I will make sure that that resource is also, we can slide it into the slide deck, and I'll put it in the chat. But again, if you're looking for something you cannot find it in Bookshare and need additional support with that, you can reach out to our Wisconsin AIM Center for that. And then the second question that was in the chat was, does anyone know if there is a NIMAC like organization for post-secondary education?
There was a program called Access Text Network that was run out of university, and then they lost their funding, but I have heard that they are maybe trying to come back in some other form, but that was sort of like a NIMAC where students could get post-secondary, could get the materials. There's also a website called Vital Source, which is an online textbook. It's an online textbook retailer, but they have a whole section dedicated to accessibility. And kind of another thing that Benetech does, in addition to operating Bookshare, is we help publishers create their materials to be accessible from the start. Kind of our founder always said, everything should be born accessible, so you don't need a Bookshare or a NIMAC. So the books that go through this accessibility certification program that we run, they get put up on VitalSource. I think it's vitalsource.com or vitalsource.org. But it is another way to get those college, post-secondary, grad school, PhD level textbooks for post-secondary students.
Thank you. And I know as we have a few other comments, but we'll let you continue on and then we'll save other questions for after. So thank you for addressing those.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so just back to the account types, that organization account created at the school or district level. What we find is, maybe the AT team creates an account or the VI department. So there's an account, but then the people on it leave, and then new teachers come in and don't realize that there's a Bookshare account just waiting to be used. So if you're not sure if your district has an account, reach out to the AT team or the special ed department or VI department. Sometimes it's like they know they have an account, but don't know how to get into it. You can always call our customer support team who can look that up and try to get you connected as well. And on those organization accounts, educators add their students who qualify and then find and assign the books to them. And students can only read the books that have been assigned. So sometimes that's a concern. Teachers are afraid students might search the collection and read a book that maybe, they not appropriate for their age, or their parents wouldn't be happy about that. But they can only read what their teachers have assigned to them when they are just on that school account. Now, we do offer those individual memberships that a parent can sign their child up outside of school, or once the student is on that school or district-based account, the teachers can actually facilitate getting that individual membership added on. For students under 18, the parent signs off on that. And then that does give them the ability to search the collection and read books that they want to read. So it's sort of, I feel like it's often not known that they can have that type of membership too. Which is just really great because it encourages them to read more. They can find the books they want to read for fun. Maybe they have a hobby or they want to read Harry Potter like their friends are reading. It can really encourage them to love reading and see that it can be for fun. It's not just for school because they have to read it. So that is something that teachers can um, initiate. It sends an email to the parent, and then the parent can add that on. And again, it will always be free for them. But mostly, especially if you're just getting started, you'll be having your students just on your school or district account. So in Wisconsin, I ran some reports, and it's showing that there's 21,585 students on school or district-based accounts. And that was to date as of yesterday. However, so far in 2025, there have been 2,075 students who have read one or more books. So that's a small percentage of the students who are actually on member rosters. It's very likely some of those students are long gone from the state, they've graduated or moved. But so it's just sort of for some scale of how many people are actually using Bookshare. And there were 7,845 downloads since the beginning of 2025. So I just always like to point that out, that oftentimes students get added, but it's really up to the teachers, to assign those books, get them reading, make sure they're reading. It's great to give them access, but sometimes there's, a little more push that needs to be made. And oftentimes it's maybe that people just aren't that familiar with how to use it. It seems complicated. So I'm hoping like a training like today sheds a little more light on that. I'll also be showing you some of the where we have our help and support resources that can guide you through that.